Royal Prince William finally takes legal action against Camilla. In one of his most revealing interviews to date, Prince William opens up about the emotional toll of losing his mother, hoping that by sharing his deeply personal reflections, he can offer comfort to others. But behind the scenes, an even more explosive revelation is shaking the monarchy. Prince William has reportedly taken the unprecedented step of launching legal action against Queen Camilla, sending shockwaves through the royal household and British society. This bold move marks a dramatic escalation, described by insiders as both inevitable and long overdue, while skeptics question whether something deeper is driving the future king to challenge the woman who redefined his father's reign. This isn't just another royal dispute, it's a confrontation that could transform the very foundation of the monarchy. Was this dramatic clash building for years, or did one final spark set it off? As the story unfolds, we dive into the heart of a royal standoff that is more than just family tension. It's a reckoning. In a shocking twist, Princess Anne, the only daughter of the late Queen Elizabeth II, is said to have initiated her own legal battle against Queen Camilla. Her actions are believed to have inspired Prince William's decision to step forward, intensifying the storm within the palace walls. Observers are stunned. Legal conflict among senior royals is virtually unheard of in the modern era, and this public dispute has thrown the royal family's carefully curated image of unity into turmoil. For a family known for handling internal matters behind closed doors, this open challenge signals a monumental shift. Commentators are left wondering what deep-rooted issues could have driven Princess Anne, a pillar of loyalty and duty, to take such an extraordinary and public stance. To understand the full weight of this moment, we must look at Princess Anne's enduring character. Former palace staff often describe her as grounded and authentic, a woman shaped by the no-nonsense practicality of her parents. Her quiet refusal to give her children royal titles speaks volumes about her belief in simplicity and substance over status. She has long walked a path apart from the glamour, preferring to focus on work and results rather than ceremony and spectacle. This strong sense of independence has earned her widespread admiration, both inside and outside the royal circle. Her tireless dedication to over 300 charities and causes around the world has solidified her place as one of the monarchy's most respected figures. From global humanitarian efforts to founding the Carers Trust, originally known as the Princess Royal Trust for Carers, her legacy is defined not by titles but by action. Yet now, as the royal family finds itself under unprecedented strain, questions are rising. Does Princess Anne's straightforward style offer the monarchy a lifeline in uncertain times, or does it underscore the widening rift between royal tradition and modern duty? Through all the noise, one thing remains clear. She has long been a force for change, working quietly but relentlessly to make a difference. Meanwhile, Queen Camilla's world was turned upside down when her relationship with King Charles was thrust into the spotlight. Once living a private and relatively unknown life, she was suddenly the subject of endless attention. One surreal moment came in 2004 when author Kate Moss recalled sharing a friendly chat in line for the restroom at a party, only to discover later she had been casually speaking with Camilla Parker Bowles. It was a quiet reminder that even those destined for the throne can find themselves in the most unexpected places. Camilla's path to becoming queen was anything but ordinary. Once labeled the most hated woman in Britain for her role in the unraveling of Charles and Diana's marriage, she spent years under a relentless spotlight. Her story with Charles began in 1970, sparked by a lighthearted comment about their shared ancestry. She playfully mentioned that her great-grandmother had an affair with his great-great-grandfather, never imagining that fate would echo the past in their own relationship. Those closest to Camilla insist that she never dreamed of the crown. The Marquis of Lansdowne even confirmed that being queen was never on her radar. She couldn't have foreseen that her bond with Charles would one day lead her to the throne. Her journey, shaped more by circumstance than ambition, has astonished many. But while some see destiny at work, others wonder if Camilla's path was more calculated than it appears. Was she simply following her heart, or quietly steering herself toward power all along? Things take a dramatic turn when Prince Harry enters the picture, publicly calling Camilla dangerous and suggesting that her rise wasn't accidental. In his eyes, she played a long game, forging alliances and revamping her image with precision, positioning herself step by step to become queen. Yet Queen Elizabeth seemed to recognize another side of her. Camilla's dedication to causes like combating violence against women earned her the Queen's respect. In time, that respect grew into acceptance. and eventually, approval for her to become queen consort. Still, the transition of power after Queen Elizabeth's death may have triggered quiet unrest within palace walls. Some royal insiders whisper that Princess Anne, once a central figure in royal affairs, now feels sidelined as Camilla assumes a more prominent role. This sense of displacement could be the reason behind Anne's bold and unexpected legal action, a rare move that signals deeper undercurrents of conflict within the family. Princess Anne's early years in the public eye were anything but easy. Hounded by the press, she was often painted as distant and unfriendly. An incident in 1980, where she asked photographers to back off during a horse trial, earned her the nickname her royal rudeness. But the media's portrayal missed the bigger picture. Beneath her reserved demeanor lies a woman deeply committed to her role and determined to serve with purpose. She has made it clear time and again that her work is real, not for show, and her sense of duty runs deep. Her approach to royal life raises an important question. Is she too serious to connect with the public? Or does her unpolished honesty challenge the very expectations that have long defined the monarchy? Anne is not one for empty gestures. It took her 10 years to feel ready to engage in public debates with Save the Children, a sign of how seriously she takes her responsibilities. Between 2002 and 2022, she completed over 11,000 engagements, earning the reputation as the hardest-working royal. But what truly sets Anne apart is her authenticity. She applies her own makeup, styles her hair, and drives herself to events. At her daughter's horse competitions, she waits her turn for the bathroom like any other parent. On her estate, she fixes fences with her own hands. She's practical to the core and doesn't bother with shaking hands at public events, not out of coldness, but to avoid creating a hierarchy among those she meets. Her no-nonsense style, grounded attitude, and relentless work ethic have made her a beloved figure and a powerful contrast in a world so often ruled by image. When it comes to fashion, Princess Anne stands apart, not for flash or extravagance, but for her quiet confidence and timeless practicality. Long before the world caught on, Anne was already championing sustainable style. Former British Vogue editor Edward Enninful praised her for wearing eco-conscious clothing decades before it became a trend. Her fashion sense is more than just personal taste. It reflects her deeper values, the same ones that guide her approach to royal life. These values now raise questions about whether Anne's unwavering authenticity is fueling her quiet tension with Queen Camilla. Is Anne's refusal to play the royal image game at the heart of a deeper conflict within the palace? Royals, wardrobes, and personal values collide in unexpected ways. Anne has never shied away from breaking fashion norms, proudly wearing the same outfit more than once, like the floral dress she donned at 2 royal weddings nearly 30 years apart. She supports British fashion not through words, but by living it, choosing outfits that are functional yet bold, from bright patterns to crisp military styles, always matching her clothes to the demands of a busy schedule. Back in the 1970s, Princess Anne turned heads with her adventurous style, wearing puff sleeves, florals, and eye-catching stripes that placed her at the forefront of royal fashion. She still commands attention today, adding personal touches like her signature brooches to formal ensembles and fearlessly pulling off sharp, structured looks few others dare to try on. Her fashion speaks of a woman grounded in tradition, but unafraid to step forward, blending elegance with strength in a way that feels unmistakably her own. Queen Camilla's journey, on the other hand, reads like a royal love story with its share of heartache and controversy. Her connection with Charles wasn't fleeting. It was a deep bond shaped by their shared aristocratic roots. She often leaned on him for support, but their closeness sparked tension, especially with Charles's sons, William and Harry, who struggled with the public and private fallout of their father's choices. From the beginning, their relationship was met with resistance. Charles's great-uncle, Lord Mountbatten, strongly disapproved of Camilla, believing she lacked the qualities needed to be queen. He urged Charles to marry a young woman unfamiliar with royal life, someone more pliable, more suitable. That old-fashioned advice didn't just reflect the strict social codes of the monarchy. It helped shape a series of events that would forever change royal history. The weight of tradition loomed over Charles and Camilla long before they could even imagine a future together. But was their separation simply a matter of timing, or was it part of a calculated effort to steer Charles toward a more acceptable bride? Love entangled with duty, their romance hit a major obstacle when Charles was sent away for 7 months aboard HMS Minerva. Behind the scenes, some believe this move was orchestrated, perhaps even by Mountbatten himself, to break the couple apart. The Queen seemed to favor Diana, a shy, noble-born young woman who had known Charles since childhood. In a painful twist, Charles asked Camilla to help Diana adjust to royal life, as if handing her over sealed the end of their story. Meanwhile, Charles and Diana's marriage began to crack almost immediately. Their early chemistry faded into coldness and conflict. Despite Charles's devotion to being a father, the emotional distance between him and Diana grew unbearable. By 992, their private pains spilled into public view. The situation had unraveled so completely that the Prime Minister himself stood before Parliament with an official statement from Buckingham Palace. With solemn formality, he announced what many had already suspected. The Prince and Princess of Wales had decided to separate, ending a turbulent chapter in royal history and exposing the cracks within the firm's seemingly unshakable foundation. Princess Anne's opinion of Camilla didn't change overnight. At first, she saw her as unfit for the crown, someone too controversial to ever wear a royal title. But over time, Anne began to notice the effort Camilla put into her new role. She watched her take on more responsibilities, navigating royal life with quiet determination. Still, just as things started to settle, the scandal hit. The world heard what was never meant to be heard when intimate phone conversations between Charles and Camilla were leaked to the press, turning private passion into public scandal. The recordings exposed a tangled mess of emotion, duty, and betrayal. What had been whispered behind palace walls became undeniable, printed across newspapers and replayed on radio shows. The monarchy, already balancing on a fragile edge, was thrown into chaos. For some, it was a reckoning. For others, just another chapter in a never-ending royal drama. But one thing was certain: the love between Charles and Camilla was no longer something to hide, and the fallout would reshape the future of the crown. In 1993, the carefully maintained illusion shattered. The private world of Prince Charles and Camilla was ripped open when British tabloids got hold of a secretly recorded phone conversation between the two. It wasn't just scandalous, it was raw, intimate, and heartbreaking. Their whispered words, filled with tenderness and longing, revealed more than a secret affair. They exposed the emotional emptiness that lingered within both of their marriages. Overnight, the whispers became headlines, and the whispers turned into roars. While the revelations shocked the public and embarrassed the royal family, it was Camilla who faced the full force of the fallout. She had long remained in the background, carefully hidden behind palace walls and social discretion, but now she was front and center, and the spotlight showed no mercy. But Diana had seen this coming. She had always known. Years earlier, at a birthday celebration in 1989, Diana had taken matters into her own hands. She approached Camilla in private, her voice calm but resolute, and confronted her directly. There was no evasion, no pretending. Diana laid the truth bare, and Camilla, caught between loyalty and desire, was left with no words to soften the blow. Then came the interview that would leave a permanent mark on royal history. Sitting across from journalist Martin Bashir, Diana was asked if Camilla played a part in the breakdown of her marriage. Her answer was swift and unforgettable. There were 3 of us in this marriage, so it was a bit crowded. That single sentence echoed across continents, replayed in newsrooms, living rooms, and public consciousness. In one breath, Diana had turned Camilla into the other woman of the century. The public turned against Camilla with a ferocity few could have predicted. She became the object of ridicule, a symbol of betrayal, a villain in a royal tragedy that captured the world's attention. She was ridiculed in tabloids, parodied in cartoons, and called names that cut deep. Among the cruelest was the Rottweiler, a nickname whispered in circles both high and low. Her name became shorthand for scandal, and any hope of redemption seemed impossible. But her greatest challenge wasn't just the public scorn. Within the royal family, resistance brewed, and no one made that clearer than Princess Anne. Anne had always kept a measured distance from her brother's personal life, but when it came to Camilla, the distance became a wall. Their encounters were brief, civil, and laced with cold undertones. Anne's disapproval was never shouted, but it hung heavy in the air. It wasn't just about family loyalty or public perception. It was about principle, about the role Camilla had played in unraveling a family already stretched thin by duty and expectation. Anne opposed the idea of Camilla ever becoming queen consort, not just in words but in posture, in presence, in the kind of subtle, calculated silence only those born into royalty can master. Their tension ran deeper than the newspapers knew. It wasn't simply about broken vows or public disgrace. It was about history, about personal grievances never voiced, about wounds that had never healed. Perhaps it was loyalty to their late mother, Queen Elizabeth. Perhaps it was an unspoken memory between Anne and Camilla, tied to events the public would never know. But whatever it was, Anne's coolness stood as a final barrier, a reminder that Camilla's path into the royal fold would be anything but smooth. And yet, the wheel of destiny continued to turn. In 2009, after decades of heartbreak, scandal, and second chances, Charles proposed. He offered her a ring that once belonged to his grandmother, a symbol of both legacy and love. By April of that year, they were married in a quiet ceremony that stood in stark contrast to the grandeur expected of royal unions. For Charles, it was a personal victory. For Camilla, it was a quiet triumph against years of judgment and exile. When Queen Elizabeth passed in 2022 and Charles ascended the throne, Camilla was crowned queen consort. During the coronation, a solemn prayer was offered for her, invoking grace and noble virtues. William stood close by, his face unreadable, a witness not only to history, but to the transformation of a woman once cast aside. But long before crowns and ceremonies, before the harsh glare of cameras and royal scrutiny, Camilla had lived a life filled with complexities. Her journey into the royal spotlight had begun decades earlier, back in the 1960s, at her own debutante ball. While other young women wore white, Camilla chose black, a quiet rebellion that set the tone for her life. That night, she met Andrew Parker Bowles, a striking officer in the Royal Horse Guards, known for his easy charm and deep ties to the royal family, especially Charles, with whom he played polo. Camilla and Andrew began a relationship that would stretch over 6 years, marked not by stability, but by constant emotional turbulence. Their romance was passionate but fractured, filled with love, betrayal, and moments of uneasy silence. Even then, long before she married into the House of Windsor, Camilla had already stepped onto a path lined with heartbreak and defiance. Her story was never simple. It was shaped by choices, shaped by love, shaped by scandal, and above all, shaped by a resilience few could match. From whispered phone calls to public scorn, from forbidden affection to coronation halls, Camilla's journey through the British monarchy was unlike any other. It was not just a tale of romance. It was a story of survival. As the years unfolded, Camilla's inner circle gradually expanded. Her connection with Charles deepened in quiet moments away from public scrutiny, and during that same period, she formed a bond with Lucia, a woman who would go on to become one of her most trusted confidants. But what could have been a relatively private journey quickly became entangled in royal intrigue. Things took a complicated turn when Andrew Parker Bowles, who was still romantically involved with Camilla, began a relationship with Princess Anne. To outsiders, the pairing seemed flawless. Anne, poised and dignified, was a picture-perfect match for Andrew, the charming military officer. But behind the palace gates, an archaic obstacle loomed. Andrew's Catholic faith clashed with the Act of Settlement from 1701, an old law that prohibited royals in the line of succession from marrying Catholics. At the time, Anne was fourth in line to the throne, and the relationship was quietly deemed a constitutional impossibility. The law not only halted a budding royal romance, it left emotional wreckage in its wake. Hearts were bruised, reputations were whispered about, and expectations that came with blue blood and royal titles clashed with personal desires. Meanwhile, rumors whispered through the palace corridors that Camilla's romance with Charles had ignited while she was still committed to Andrew, adding yet another layer of betrayal to a web already tangled by politics, affection, and ambition. For those who lived within those royal walls, it wasn't just a matter of who loved whom. Every decision, every glance, every conversation was weighed against centuries of tradition and the unforgiving eye of public perception. These years set the foundation for what would become a decades-long tension between Anne and Camilla. It's no wonder that even today, a trace of coolness lingers in their interactions. In the royal household, the past has a way of echoing through generations. Nothing is ever just personal. Old flames, jealousies, and decisions made behind closed doors become public narrative, woven into the very fabric of royal history. Some insiders have even claimed that Camilla, hurt by Andrew's romantic entanglement with Anne, had an added motivation in pursuing Charles. Not just love, but revenge. What began as a love triangle quietly morphed into one of the most iconic royal dramas of the modern era. Despite the drama, Anne and Andrew managed to preserve a connection. Over time, they realized that their bond was perhaps more suited to friendship than romance. According to royal author Tom Quinn, Anne understood that love doesn't always last, but camaraderie sometimes does. That enduring closeness, however, came with its own set of complications. During Anne's marriage to Mark Phillips, their continued friendship with Andrew fueled tabloid speculation and whispered allegations. By 1980, as her marriage to Phillips began to crumble, the gossip returned with force, suggesting a possible rekindling between Anne and Andrew. But as the years passed, the frost between Anne and Camilla began to slowly thaw. They found common ground in public duties, standing side by side at charity events and royal functions. At one memorable reception in Buckingham Palace, the two women appeared almost serene. Anne dressed with her usual simplicity, choosing a white ensemble that mirrored the understated elegance of her 1992 Scottish wedding to Tim Lawrence. Her accessories were minimal but meaningful, a seahorse brooch and navy accents that reflected her calm, composed presence. Camilla, ever aware of symbolism, arrived in a soft blue dress adorned with ivy leaf brooches from the 1930s, a subtle nod to history and resilience. The gathering included other senior royals, such as the Duke and Duchess of Gloucester, and drew attention with appearances by well-known names like actress Ruth Wilson. Everything appeared smooth on the surface, as though years of quiet rivalry had finally given way to a stable, professional respect. Smiles were exchanged, polite words shared, and for a fleeting moment, the past seemed forgiven. That's why the legal move struck like lightning from a clear sky. After so many years of public harmony, something must have fractured again behind closed doors. The peace they had built was fragile, and now it was unraveling in full view. The setting was the University of London, where Camilla had arrived to receive an honorary degree. What should have been a celebration quickly turned uncomfortable. The air shifted the moment she encountered Princess Anne. With a formal nod, Camilla gestured for Anne to enter first, a clear sign of deference. But Anne, never one to be outmaneuvered, smiled and insisted Camilla go ahead, subtly reversing the traditional protocol that places the queen above the princess. The ceremony was steeped in royal significance. Camilla was joining the ranks of some of Britain's most honored individuals, including Winston Churchill and Judi Dench. Sir Mark Lowe delivered a glowing tribute, praising her long-standing commitment to literacy, education, and public service. When Anne took the podium, she acknowledged Camilla's efforts with grace, describing her as a woman of resilience and someone who shares in Charles's progressive vision for the monarchy. But beneath the carefully crafted words and the grandeur of the setting, something remained unresolved. The glances, the silences, the slight stiffness of their movements all told a more honest story. The pain of the past hadn't completely faded, and in the royal world, true forgiveness is a rare and complicated thing. The honorary degree ceremony, while historic, served as a reminder that even in glittering palaces, old wounds can still sting, and history never fully lets go. Even behind the polished smiles and carefully chosen words, it was impossible to ignore the tension simmering just beneath the surface. Watching Queen Camilla receive an honorary degree from none other than her sister-in-law, Princess Anne, was already a moment thick with awkwardness. But what truly raised eyebrows was the knowledge that this same sister-in-law had recently taken legal action against her. It was a scene straight from a royal drama, a reminder that even the most composed faces can't fully mask years of unresolved friction. The entire ceremony became a masterclass in public diplomacy, a performance where everyone said the right things while their eyes and gestures whispered a much different story. In the world of royalty, appearances are everything, but the truth often finds its way through the cracks. At the heart of it all stands King Charles, who infused his coronation with his signature dry wit, poking fun at his famously swollen fingers as Prince William helped him into his ceremonial robes. It was a lighthearted moment that softened the grandeur of the occasion, but standing nearby, Princess Anne seemed far more grounded. She understood the magnitude of the day in ways others might not. Her brother, long the waiting heir, was finally stepping into a role he had been groomed for since childhood, yet one that came far later than any monarch before him. But if anyone expected Charles to be a passive figurehead, they were quickly proven wrong. From the outset of his reign, he made it clear that this would be a kingship marked by action and voice. He took the global stage at COP28, championing climate action with the same passion he had carried for decades, now finally with the authority of a king. His ascension is more than a ceremonial change. It is a defining test for the future of the monarchy. In a time when public trust is waning and voices demanding modernization grow louder, Charles must walk a razor-thin line between honoring ancient traditions and pushing the crown into relevance. Will he manage to be the monarch who unites the past and the present? Or will history judge him as a king who faltered under the weight of expectation? What's certain is that Charles is determined to leave his mark. As the longest-serving heir in British history, he did not enter the role unprepared. His commitment to environmental advocacy, social causes, and global cooperation suggests a reign that is far from symbolic. He does not intend to simply wear the crown, he intends to wield its influence. Yet for all his ambitions, the path ahead is far from smooth. Deep-rooted family fractures, shifting public sentiment, and the very relevance of the monarchy itself threaten to overshadow his every move. His relationships with key family members, including Camilla, William, and Harry, remain closely watched and endlessly speculated upon. The royal house is a place of loyalty, rivalry, and buried secrets, and those dynamics continue to play out in both subtle gestures and explosive headlines. How Charles handles these internal challenges will shape not only how his reign is remembered, but how the monarchy survives. Will he be the reformer Britain never knew it needed, or a figure who clung too tightly to tradition? In this new royal era, every decision feels weightier, every misstep more costly. And then there's the matter of the lawsuit. If Princess Anne and Prince William's legal action against Queen Camilla proceeds, it could crack open long-concealed rifts within the royal household. What secrets might be dragged into the light? Could this legal battle reshape the monarchy's public image and redefine its internal power dynamics? Or will it all be quietly swept under the rug, buried beneath palace protocol and silence? As this royal chapter unfolds, one thing is certain. The world is watching, analyzing, and questioning every move. Will this era be remembered for bold transformation or quiet conformity? Will the crown rise to meet the times or be left behind in history's pages? Tell us what you think in the comments below. Make sure to like, share, and subscribe for more royal insights. And don't forget to click on the next video showing on your screen. You won't want to miss what happens next.